Hello everyone. Today we will study about the third agricultural practice, that is adding manure and fertilizers to the soil. There are nutrients which are required for the plants to grow the plants. About 60 type of elements or nutrients are required by the plants for various activities, various processes in the plant body. Among them 60 nutrients or elements, 13 nutrients or 13 elements are required actually for the growth of plants, and these are nutrients to the plants. 60 elements or mineral nutrients are required by the plants for their different activities, among which nutrients required for plant growth are 16 nutrients, and among these 16 nutrients are provided by air, water and soil. By air, two nutrients are provided. Those are carbon and oxygen. By water, one nutrient is provided, that is hydrogen, and remaining 13 nutrients are required in large and smaller quantities. As these are 13 nutrients, first, micronutrients. These are the nutrients which are required in a small quantity. So these are known as micronutrients, which are required in a small quantity. These are 7 in numbers, and those are iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, molybdenum and chlorine. So these 7 elements or nutrients are required in a small quantity. So these are known as micronutrients, and remaining 6 nutrients are known as macronutrients. Those are required in large quantity. So macronutrients required in large quantities, these are 7 in number, 6 in numbers. These are nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium and sulfur. Manure and fertilizers. What are manures and fertilizers? These are the substances which added to the soil in the form of nutrients. It means manure and fertilizers are the substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients for the healthy growth of plants. Need of addition or supply of manure or fertilizers. What is the need or requirement of addition of manure and fertilizers to the soil? If in the soil, in the land part, we grow different types of plants or crops, these crops utilize the nutrients which are present in the soil, and when we harvest these crops, the soil is deficient in the nutrients, because the nutrients which were present in the soil were used by the plants, and we harvested the crops. So those crops having the nutrients, and they took these nutrients from the soil. So now the soil is deficient in these nutrients. So to reprovide or to replenish the soil with the nutrients, we need to supply nutrients to the soil. So need, because plants are deficient, the soil is deficient in the form of nutrients. So to reprovide or to replenish the soil with nutrients, we require to replenish, to provide, to supply, to add manure and fertilizers, because manure and fertilizers have the nutrients, and we provide the nutrients in the form of manure and fertilizers to the soil. After that, manuring. Actually, manuring is the process of supply or addition of manure in the form of nutrient substances in the soil. This is known as manuring. It is a system, it is a process of adding manure in the soil. This is known as manuring. After that, compost manure or manure. What is compost manure or manure? It is decomposed organic matter. So manure is the decomposed, or we can say partially decomposed organic matter that is come from the plants or animals, or we can say the wastes of plants and animals. The waste from the plants and animals that is decomposed by the bacteria, etc., or microorganisms, etc., which are living in the soil, they decompose the organic matter or the matter which is coming from the plants and animals. So this decomposed, or we can say partially decomposed organic matter is known as manure or compost manure. After that, green manure. Sometimes farmers grow some grasses or some plants in the fields, and when these plants are, or the grasses are green, they plow the soil, due to which the green plants mixed with the soil. So the nutrients which were absorbed by the green plants again provided to the soil, and when now they grow new plants or crops, these nutrients will be available to these plants or crops, because they will be decomposed or will be converted into simpler forms by the microorganisms living in the soil. So these nutrients will be present in the soil, and now again we grow a new type of plant or crops. These crops or these plants will absorb the nutrients from the soil. So this type of compost, this type of manure that is prepared by the green grasses or plants, etc., is known as green compost. After that, vermicompost or vermicomposting. Actually, vermicompost is also a compost or manure, but this is prepared with the help of earthworms, or we can say a special type of earthworm, that is red worm. So to make this in the fields, in pits, the organic matter, waste or excreta from plants and animals, etc., put in the pits, and now on these waste material, redworm or earthworm are placed there, and these earthworm or redworm convert the organic matter, the waste or excreta from animals and plants, into manure, that is known as vermicompost. And this process of preparing compost with the help of redworm or earthworm is known as vermicomposting. Now, advantages of using manures. We add manures to the soil. So what are the advantages of using, providing, supplying these manures to the soil? First advantage, manures provide all nutrients to the soil. We will study that fertilizers supply some specific nutrients, but manure supply all the types of nutrients, but these nutrients are in small quantity in the manures, but manure supplies all the nutrients. This is the first advantage of using manure. Second, these enhance the texture of the soil. It means manures enhance the texture, the size, shape, etc. of the soil. Third advantage, these increase the water holding or water retaining capacity. Fourth, they enhance the drainage of water into the soil. It means water can drain, water can move in different parts of the soil. So the use of manures enhance the drainage of water. These, it means manures, these make the soil porous. It means between the particles of soil, these particles of organic matter are there, due to which the soil becomes porous. It means holes or spaces may be there between the particles of soil, so soil becomes porous. Sixth advantage is these help to grow microorganisms in the soil. So these are the advantages of using manures. First is manures provide all the nutrients. We know that manure has all the nutrients, but these nutrients are in small quantity. But as the fertilizers provide some specific nutrients, but manures provide all the nutrients in small quantities. Second is these enhance the texture of soil. It means these enhance the texture, the shape, size, etc. of the soil. Third, these increase the water holding or retaining capacity. Between the particles of soil, these particles of organic matter or manure are present, due to which water can be retained by the soil. Fourth is, these enhance the drainage of water into the soil. For example, if we take the example of clay soil, the particles are very small, due to which the water cannot go inside between the particles of soil easily, because very small spaces are there between the particles of soil, because the particles of soil are very small. Now we add manures, it means organic matter or particles, decomposed particles of organic matter are between the particles of soil, due to which water can move, water can drain, so it means we can say that using manure can enhance the drainage of water between the particles of soil, due to the presence of the organic matter between the particles of soil. Then these makes the soil porous. If the particles of soil are very close to each other, there are not empty spaces between the particles, and this is not porous. So if we add manure to the soil, it becomes porous, and between the empty spaces are also maybe there, so it becomes porous. The next is, these help to grow microorganisms, and drainage may be there, soil becomes porous, due to porous soil, the microorganisms which are living in the soil can exchange of gases like carbon dioxide and oxygen. They can use water, due to which they can grow easily in the soil. So we can say that manure helps in these ways. So these are the advantages of using manures. Now the fertilizers. What are the fertilizers? Before this we have studied about the manures. Now fertilizers. Fertilizers are the chemical formulations made in factories with the help of chemicals. These are actually the inorganic salts. In manure and fertilizers, two terms are used: organic and inorganic. What are the meanings of these organic and inorganic? Meaning of organic, related to living beings. So all the things which are related, which are obtained from the living beings, living things, as plants and animals, are known as organic matter or organic things. So manure is prepared by the waste or excreta of plants and animals. So these are organic matter. But now fertilizers, these are not obtained from the plants or animals, or these are not obtained from the organic matter, living things. These are not obtained, made, prepared from the living things, living beings. It means by the plant or animal waste or excreta we cannot prepare the fertilizers. So these obtained from the non-organic, or we can say inorganic, without plants or animals. These are obtained from the chemicals, and these are prepared in the factories. So these are the chemical formulations, or we can say these are the chemicals which are prepared, made in the factories, not from the plants and animals. So we can say that these are the inorganic salts which are prepared in the factories with the help of chemicals. Examples of these fertilizers are urea, ammonium sulfate, superphosphate, NPK. Actually this is the short form of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. It means this is the fertilizer that provides three things: nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which are essential for the fast growth of plants. So these are the examples of fertilizers which are used to grow the plants in a very short duration. So fertilizers are used for fast growth and high yield of crops. We can obtain high yields, more quantity of plants and grains, etc. with the help of fertilizers, and these are actually responsible for the fast growth of plants. So we can obtain a high yield and fast growth of plants. Apart from these things, there are some disadvantages of fertilizers. It means we should not use the fertilizers for a long time in the soil, and we should not overuse the fertilizers. Why? There are some reasons. Those are the disadvantages of using fertilizers. Those are: first, soil fertility can be destroyed. Manure provides all the nutrients in small quantity to the soil that enhances the texture of soil. Manure help in the growing microorganisms, etc., due to which that cannot harm the soil and that cannot decrease the fertility of the soil. But overuse or continuous use of fertilizers can destroy the fertility of soil. Second, it can pollute the soil, because actually these are the chemicals. If we add these chemicals to the soil in large quantity for a long time, this can pollute the soil. Then these can pollute the environment. If we add these chemicals in the soil, these may pollute the surroundings of the fields, the crops, the plants. It means they can also pollute the surroundings or environment. Then they can kill the microorganisms living in the soil. We know that in the soil there are some useful microorganisms like bacteria, rhizobium, azotobacter, etc., and earthworm. This type of organisms or microorganisms living in the soil. If we use the fertilizers continuously and in more quantity, these chemicals can kill, destroy the microorganisms in the soil. Next, may pollute nearby water bodies if run away with the rainwater. And we know that if we add these fertilizers continuously in the soil, if there is raining, these fertilizers will be washed off with the rainwater, and along with rainwater they will reach to nearby water body. So these chemicals which are present in the rainwater, they can kill off the animals, or we can say aquatic animals, which are living in that water body to which these chemicals reached along with the running of rainwater. So they can destroy, they can pollute the nearby water bodies. Next and last is may be collected, concentrated in human body. These chemicals are used in fields, crops, plants, or ultimately these things, these crops are used by the human beings. So these chemicals ultimately will be concentrated or collected in the human body. So continuous collection or concentration of these chemicals in the human body also can pollute, can harm our body system. And this system is known as biological magnification. It means biological magnification means there is a higher concentration or collection of these chemicals ultimately to the human body. This is known as biological magnification. So these are the disadvantages of using, or we can say overuse or continuous use of fertilizers. The next topic is irrigation. It is the system of watering or supply of water to the plants or to the crops. In every crop, every field, we supply water after a certain interval of time according to the requirement of water by different types of crops. Different types of crops need different amount of water and at different intervals of time. So at a different intervals of time and a certain quantity of water we supply externally to the crops. This system of supply of water to the crops externally after a certain interval of time is known as irrigation. And now, what is the need of irrigation? Why do we supply water to the plants or to the crops? There are some reasons. First, for germination of seeds. In agricultural practices, we studied that all of first we prepare the soil. Then after we sow the seeds. So when we sow the seeds, these seeds will germinate. It means the seed will swell up, outer covering will break, and a whitish or greenish structure will come out from the seed. And this structure that is coming out can form a new plant. Two structures as plumule and radicule will be formed, and these will form the root system and shoot system. So this is the germination of plant, and dry seeds cannot germinate. It means water is needed, required by the plants for germination of seeds. Second, for the nutrients H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. As we know that different types of nutrients are required by the plants, and as we studied, 16 nutrients are required for the growth, among which some nutrients are also provided by soil, some provided by water, and some by air. So through water, two types of nutrients can be provided to the plants. Those are, according to the formula of water, H2O. It means hydrogen and oxygen. Two types of nutrients are provided to the crops by water. Third is to protect plants from frost, frozen, hot air currents, etc. So the freezing of different contents of the plant bodies, cells, etc. cannot frost or frozen due to the water. It means water maintains a particular temperature of water bodies, plant bodies also, due to which they are protected from the frost and frozen, or we can say hot airs, currents, etc. Next is photosynthesis. As we know that green plants can perform the process of preparing their own food by the process of photosynthesis. And in this process, four things are needed. First is sunlight, second is chlorophyll, and the third thing is carbon dioxide, and fourth thing is water. So carbon dioxide and water combined with each other in a definite proportion with the help of chlorophyll and sunlight. Actually, chlorophyll helps in the capturing of sunlight, and due to this presence of this sunlight, these two things, carbon dioxide and water, will react with each other and combine in a definite proportion, due to which a new substance is formed, that is glucose, C6H12O6. So this process is known as photosynthesis, and in photosynthesis we know that the main constituent, the main requirement is water and carbon dioxide. So water is also needed, required for photosynthesis. Next is for the transportation of minerals, nutrients, food, pesticides, chemicals, manure, fertilizers to the plant body or all parts of the body. In our body, different things are transported from one part to another part, and this takes place with the help of blood. It means blood helps in the transportation of all these things: medicines, nutrients, food, enzymes, hormones, etc. Like this, in plant body, all these things are transported by water. If we add manure, fertilizers, different types of minerals, etc. to the soil, so these fertilizers, manure, minerals, nutrients, etc. will be absorbed by the water. This water will be absorbed by the root hairs or roots, and these nutrients, etc., along with water will be transported to various parts of the plant body. And in the leaves, food is prepared by the process of photosynthesis, and for that process water is needed. So from the soil to the leaves, etc., the water will reach to the leaves, and this also carry the different types of nutrients which are also helpful for the growth and other processes of the plants. And in the leaf, the food is prepared. Now this food is needed for all the parts of the plant. So how that prepared food will be transported to every part of the plant? Through the water. It means along with water, this food will be transported to every part of the plant. So we can say that all these things are transported in the plant body with the help of water. So this is the main function of water, that water transports all these things to various parts of the plant body. Then after, sources of irrigation. We know that irrigation is the process of supply of water to the crops after a certain interval of time, and there are various sources of water from which we supply water to the crops. These are wells. Those are dug wells, tube wells, bore wells, etc. So from these wells we supply water to the crops. Then canal system. So from the canal we also supply the water to the crops. Rivers or river lift systems. The water of rivers is lifted up, and then through pipes or other systems it is carried to the fields or crops. After that, tanks, lakes, dams, and rainwater harvesting system also, in which rainwater is collected, and this collected water is also used to supply the water to the crops after certain interval of time, as the water is required by the crops. Now, the methods of irrigation. We studied that there are different sources of water from which we can supply water to the crops, as wells, canals, river lift system, lakes, etc. So actually water is present in all these water bodies, and how can we supply the collected water in these water bodies to the crops? So by various methods we can supply this water that is collected, that is stored, that is present in various water bodies, as wells, dug wells, bore wells, canals, river lift systems, dams, etc. So there are various methods by which we can supply the water from these water bodies to the crops, and these are two methods of supply of water, or those are known as methods of irrigation. These methods of irrigation, or that the methods of supply of water to the crops, are of two types. First type is traditional method of irrigation, in which traditional things, traditional ways, traditional devices are used to supply the water to the crops. Some examples are MOT, that is pulley system, chain pump, dhekli, and rahat, that is lever system. These are the examples of traditional methods of irrigation, in which traditional devices, instruments are used to supply the water to the crops. And nowadays modern methods or modern techniques are also used for the supply of water, for the irrigation of water, or we can say irrigation to the crops. These are modern methods or techniques of irrigation. Those are sprinkler system, drip irrigation, and water harvesting system. These are the modern methods or modern techniques of irrigation. And now we will study these methods one by one in detail. Now, the first traditional method of irrigation, that is MOT or pulley system. In this system, this is a well, source of water. There are two wooden logs, and in between two wooden logs there is a pulley system fixed. On the pulley there is a rope, and this end of rope is connected or tied with a bucket or container. Now here this rope can be pulled by human beings or animals. When we leave it, this bucket will goes inside the well, and this will be filled up with water. Now human beings, or with the help of animals, this rope will be pulled, due to which this well, from the well to the bucket, will come towards this side, and here this bucket will be held by a human being, and now this water will be dropped here in this structure, and from this system, a canal like structure, this water will be supplied to small parts in the field where crops, plants are grown. So in this way, this is the pulley system, that can be a tire or wheel like structure that can easily move. So on the wheel there is a rope. If we leave this rope, at the end of a rope a bucket is tied. This bucket goes inside the well, where it will be filled up with water. Then when we pull this rope, the bucket filled with water will come to outside the well, and when this comes to here, a human being will keep it, hold it, and empty it into a structure where the water will be supplied to various small parts of the field where crops or plants are grown. So in this system, pulley system is used. So this is known as pulley system or MOT. This is a traditional method of irrigation. chain pump, as its name shows, there is chain and pump system, chain pump system to irrigate the crops. We can understand it as this is a well like structure where water is present. Outside the well there is a wooden log, and this end is used as a handle that can be moved, and here there is a wheel like structure. On the wheel there is a rope or chain system, and this chain here is a pulley type structure along due to which the rope, the chain can move. If we move it in round way, in circular way, the handle, this wheel will move, and this wheel and this wheel or pulley are connected through a chain, and there are two buckets or one bucket is connected with this chain system. When we move it, the bucket will go down inside the well, where the bucket will be filled up with water, and when we move it in circular way, the bucket will come here, and now in downward direction it's open mouth, open part, so due to which the water will collected in this system, and from where the water will be distributed to the small parts of the field. So in this way water can be supplied in the crops. So in this system, a chain and a pump like structure that is used, that is carried out by moving the handle in circular way. So this is known as chain pump system. Now the third method of irrigation, traditional method of irrigation, that is known as dhekli. In this structure there is a well. In the well there is water, and outside the well there is a wooden log, and through this wooden log there is a wooden shaft, long stick like structure of wood. At this end of wood a bucket is connected with a rope, and here this end of the shaft or wooden shaft there is a weight, a stone can be tied. Now when with the help of a rope, when this is pulled down by a human being, this bucket will go inside the well, and inside the well the water will be filled up in the bucket. Now if this rope is slowly released in upward direction, due to this weight, this wooden shaft will go in upward direction, due to which the bucket filled with water will come to this place. Here the human being will hold this bucket and empty it in this system, from where water can be distributed to various small parts of the crops. So in this system is known as dhekli. Fourth traditional method of irrigation, that is known as rahat or lever system. We can understand this system as this is a well. Here a wooden or metallic log, and on which through a lever system a wheel like structure is there. Along with this wheel like structure, many bucket like structure or containers are connected. And here this lever system is connected with a lever like structure here, another lever like structure, a wooden lock, then a wooden shaft is there. And this wooden shaft, with the help of human beings or especially by animals, this is moved in a circular way. It means this is moved like this in circular ways. So when this moves in circular way, this structure also moves, and here it is connected with this type of structure. For example, when this moves, along with this lever type structure also moves. Now this structure is connected to this. So when this moves, this structure also moves. So these structures are connected by these. So when this structure moves along with this, these all also moves. So when this moves in this direction, this also moves in this direction, and this is connected to this. So when we move in this in circular direction, here lever like structure both are connected to each other. So when this moves along with, due to this, they also move, and this moves in this direction and this moves in this direction. So this is connected to this system. And now when this moves, these buckets goes inside the well where water is present, and this water fills in the buckets. And when this moves in this way, all the buckets are filled with water. And when these buckets come here, the water, they are tilted, the buckets are tilted in this way. When these comes here, the water automatically emptied or pours, drops in this structure, and from where this is distributed to various small parts of the field. These pulley like structures may be in this way also, where the buckets are connected in this manner. So when in this manner also, when this moves, these buckets, if water is deep inside the well, these buckets will filled with water in the well. And when these buckets come here, they are tilted slightly, due to which the water will be emptied from the bucket to these systems, and from this the water is distributed to the small parts of the field to the so in this way water is pumped out through lever system. This system is known as Rahat or lever system. Levers are used, so this system is known as Rahat or lever system. In this way water comes out from the well. Now the modern methods or techniques of irrigation. These are the techniques or methods for supply of water to the crops or plants, and these methods are used nowadays. These are modern methods or techniques of irrigation. These save water and labor. These are all of us sprinkler system. There is a well, a pump or motor is connected. So when we operate it with electricity, etc., due to which water is pumped out from the well, and through this pipe, this is connected to the small distributaries of pipes, and at a certain distances there are sprinkler systems, or sprinklers, or we can say there is a nozzle on a pipe, and when water with pressure goes to this nozzle, this moves, and through these open parts water is sprinkles out in the fields. So through various pipes the water is sprinkled in the fields, in the crops or plants. This saves the water and human labor. So this is the modern method, sprinkler system. Second is drip irrigation. In this system, a well, motor, pump, water is pumped out, and through the small distributaries or small pipes, there are very thin pipes. Those are left near the base, near the roots of the plants, and through these pipes there is a very small opening. Through the small opening water comes out drop by drop, and due to which it saves a lot of water, and water is provided to the crop drop by drop, and as the need of the crops or plants. Water comes out through the small opening drop by drop, so it is known as drip irrigation system, and this also saves a lot of water and human labor. In medical, when we are diseased or unhealthy, a drip system is also used there. In that drip system, in the bottle there is glucose or saline water, or we can say medicines are present in the bottle, and through a pipe this comes to our body, and this is injected in our body. And if we see below the bottle, in the pipe, the water, the saline, the glucose or the medicines, etc., which are present in the bottle comes drop by drop. Like here also, the water through this small opening comes out drop by drop and provided to the base of the plant, not on the leaves, stem, etc. This goes to the base, to the soil, and this is absorbed by the soil, and the roots absorb this water and provide to the plant. So this saves a lot of water. So this is a very good technique to save labor and water. The third technique, that is rainwater harvesting. In this technique, the rainwater that comes on the roof of our buildings, houses, rooms, etc. This rainwater is collected through pipes, and after that this is collected in a water tank, underground water tank, and this collected water is used by hand pump or using a motor. This is pumped out from the tank, underground tank, and then it can be distributed to the crops, plants, etc. So this is known as rainwater harvesting, in which rainwater is collected and can be used to irrigate for plants, etc. So these are the modern techniques of irrigation, as a sprinkler system, drip irrigation, and rainwater harvesting.